Smith College senior Clarke Knight is one of just 32 people nationwide chosen to be a Rhodes Scholar for 2014. Certainly one of the highest honors a college student can receive, and we are pleased to have Clarke Knight here with us in the studio this evening.
Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It is a huge, huge honor. Tell me about the process. I had kind of assumed that you get a phone call or a letter comes in the mail after you've submitted your paperwork. It really is, it's a very kind of difficult process, at least to me, that you go through when you find out you've been chosen a Rhodes Scholar.
Yes, it starts at a cocktail party the night before, and then the next day is all day interviewing. And after that, you sit in a room with all the other amazing candidates and wait for several long hours while the judges deliberate, and they call you back and announce it, and 2 people are selected.
So yeah. There's this whole group of, and thank goodness you're one of the 2 to get your name, but how hard it's got to be one of the nuns whose name isn't called. But, well, we don't have to worry about that with you. We won't talk about that. But I've got to ask you, again, one of 32 people nationwide. You're only, I believe, the 3rd person from Smith chosen. The first person who's an American student of Smith College chosen. The other 2 both were from Africa, yes. Ironically enough. Not to embarrass you, but Smith is a place with a lot of very accomplished people. I don't have to tell you that. But you suddenly find yourself a little bit of a celebrity on campus. This is a big deal.
I've had 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, it's been overwhelming, but people are so supportive and kind. Yeah.
Let's talk about kind of what led you to your scholarship, if you will. You grew up in Henderson, Nevada. That's in the Mojave Desert. Did that harsh kind of environment influence your interest in the areas of environmental science that you plan to make your area of study?
Yes, I mean, the fact that there's so little water in Nevada, that I grew up in a period of drought, being in the desert definitely has shaped my thinking about environmental limits and resources and how we manage those resources, and that has put me on this trajectory for environmental policy and combining that with science.
Now, you're a chemistry major, which right away, I mean, you're out of my league, okay, just so you know. The only way I got through high school chemistry was my lab partner was a guy who went on to be a professional chemist. He did all the work, I wrote stuff. Anyway, okay, just so we know where we're at here talking. At Oxford, you want to focus on science-based environmental policy. Basically, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, asking nations, governments, industries to base their policies on scientific facts. Yes. Now, that whole area of global warming remains very controversial for many people. Have you thought about the policy hornet's nest that you kind of want to make your life's work in your area of study?
It's definitely going to be a challenging field, that's for sure. I mean, even I would say first off is let's call it what it really is, and that's probably most accurately climate chaos instead of global warming. And so, I mean, there's so many things we can do to really move along on this issue.
You're looking at a career, though, to some extent where you'll be fighting every day. I mean, not long ago we had a terrific professor in here who was a renowned world expert. He's at UMass, Ray Bradley, and he's written a book about the politics of global warming and how he's basically at times been threatened, told, look, you get off this topic or you're going to see research dollars dry up and you're going to see things happen. This is, I mean, you very consciously have chosen, and I don't mean to make this about politics, our discussion, but you've chosen an area that's not just going to be research, it's going to be research and battle, maybe.
Yes, I mean, the people who are in the trenches of policy making and accord making have a difficult job, but I really see my role as a person who can translate and come from the science side and bridge those 2 cultures that are going on now, because they're not talking to each other enough. So
now you've done research projects in Tasmania with the National Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, very, very high profile work. But your senior thesis was locally based about the soil chemistry of the Avery Brook watershed in West Whately. How was that choice made by you?
I became involved in the research of a geologist at Smith named Bob Newton, and I got involved with his lab, and we had talked about, okay, I really want to combine chemistry and geology and do an interdepartmental thesis, and he's been doing work in Avery Brook and the Appalachians for several years, decades actually, and he said, okay, there's an interesting project about the soil chemistry. And I mean, at the macro level, we have climate change going on. And then at this level, we wanted to see how is the soil going to change with warming and with an invasive species of worms. So my project is really focusing on those two things.
Now, I know you're on the varsity crew, the cross-country team at Smith, and in your downtime, and I can't imagine when that is, but
Yeah.
you've written a book in a totally different area, Footnotes in Architecture, a history of women architects. What led you in that direction?
Well, Smith has a fantastic program called the Stride program, and so it pairs you as an incoming first year with a professor who's also doing research. And so I was given this topic, and together with Professor James Middlebrook in the architecture department, I started researching women architects and really started thinking about, you know, why are there so few women who have really made it to the top of the field and continued in architecture? And then that research culminated, and we thought, you know, our findings are very interesting and they could be best put to a book format, and that's what it really became. So I mean, that I think is, you know, so illustrative of what a Smith College education can do for you, is those concrete experiences with professors. It's fabulous.
You've got a couple of fascinating years ahead of you at Oxford. Long-term, crystal ball, career-wise, what do you want to do? Where do you hope to see yourself in 10 years, let's say?
Probably international policy, environmental policy, maybe doing work with the EPA back in the United States. So I'm not sure. A couple things are bouncing around in my head right now, but I'm not sure.
Well, you got time and you got a lot of opportunity. Have a great time at Oxford. We are all very proud of you. Clarke Knight, Rhodes Scholar for 2014. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.